Hi, everyone. It's Ms. Peplinski for the Thursday, September 22nd lesson on the Mexican-American War. So when you come in on this day, we have some character cards cut out for you. You're going to study a person who lived at this time during the Mexican-American War. Could be a soldier on the American side or the Mexican side. Could be Native American people. It could be enslaved people. It could be war leaders. It could be people living in the territory. There are many options. Sorry, I hope you are not hearing that like super loud ringtone right now. I'm trying to shut it up. So if you are here on Thursday, you're going to choose a character card and immerse yourself into that character and open up this 922 Mexican-American War warm-up on Canvas. As always, that's going to be under modules and then unit 2 and 922. I've started organizing it with text headers for the date in hopes that that will help you just to better access the information. Sometimes it takes me multiple directions to get you to where you're supposed to be on Canvas. So this is just an extra effort to try to help you get there quicker. So if you are here on Thursday, you're going to walk around the classroom and meet other characters from the Mexican-American War. So you'll interact with others as if you are the character on your card, and others will interact with you as if they are their character. And you'll use the 922 warm-up to find people who have the prompted experiences on the paper. On that paper, you'll describe the characters that you interact with. So there are some specific questions, specific types of people that you want to find. If you are absent on Thursday, no need to make this up. I don't have an alternative activity for you to do at home. No need to make this up. If you want to ask your classmates about the experience and how it went and what they learned from it, that'll be sufficient for you. Today, we are going to transition to the Mexican-American War, which took place from 1846 to 1848. So I would like you to type in your pear deck if you are here. What happened in yesterday's class? What did we talk about yesterday? That would be the half day, Wednesday, September 21st. As always, I'm sorry, my dog is being dumb over here. As always, just pause, take a minute to think if you would like. So yesterday we talked about Texas annexation. That means Texas becoming a US state. And manifest destiny, continuing to journey west under Polk's presidency. So some of the causes of the Mexican-American War include that Mexico was not happy with Texas annexing, that means becoming a state in the United States. Mexico and the United States were arguing over the Rio Grande River and the Nueces River boundaries. The United States wanted to expand all the way to the western coast, and to do so, they had to win this territory from Spain. Polk is the president as people debate these western boundaries. We talked about him a little bit yesterday as we discussed manifest destiny and Texas annexation. So based on what you learned about him yesterday, how do you think he will respond to this debate regarding western boundaries on the Rio Grande River and the Nueces River? This is where you would type in the pear deck. And I'm going to reveal the answer on the next slide here. This war with Mexico began over the dispute of southern boundary of Texas. The United States claimed Rio Grande as a southern border. Mexico claimed the Nueces River as border. But Polk wanted more than just Texas. He's that president we just talked about on the last slide. He was elected on the platform of manifest destiny and wanted to acquire the entire Western Mexican territory. So he is going to want to acquire this entire territory that Mexico owned. Additionally, This whole region is disputed territory. So this is not yet part of the state of Texas. It was not clear what river would define the border. So this one here is the Rio Grande, and this one here is the Nueces. So based on what you know about Texas today, which river do you think defines the border? It's going to be this one, Rio Grande. This is more about Polk's response. He sent a representative to Mexico City in November of 1845, where he offered to buy New Mexico and California, but the Mexican government refused to meet him. Polk then ordered over 3,000 troops under General Zachary Taylor into the disputed territory. The Mexican troops engaged in skirmish with American troops, and Polk expressed outrage at loss of American blood on American soil because he believed that this land belonged to the United States, even though Mexico believed that the land belonged to them. After this, Polk asks Congress to declare war on Mexico, and this happens in May of 1846. American troops took the offensive. An expedition under Captain John Fremont moved into California. Groups of American settlers had already proclaimed an independent Republic of California, and by January of 1847, the United States had California and New Mexico. Predict based on what we already talked about and what you know about America today. Will the United States win the Mexican-American War? Will they be successful? It's just a choice, yes or no. I hope everybody says yes. They are successful because today we have all that Mexican territory that we talked about on this slide. So this is now United States territory. You should have that as background knowledge. You can use that to figure out that they must have won the Mexican-American War. So these are some of the battles that occurred during the war. The Americans invaded New Mexico in 1846, and many Americans died because of the bad conditions and diseases in the Mexican territory. General Zachary Taylor led the troops to Monterrey and captured the city on September 25th, 1846. In 1847, General Winfield Scott landed in Veracruz and defeated the Mexicans. It was important for Americans to control the port. So I want to make just like a quick side note clarifying point. So typically when I talk about groups of people, I like to put the word people behind them. So for example, like enslaved people, Native American people, things like that. So those are some of the groups that we've talked about so far. Whereas other people might say slaves or Indians or Native Americans. So when I'm talking about someone's identity, I typically like to say people after the word. But here I haven't rephrased it simply to kind of distinguish between, if I would say people of Mexican descent, then I would be talking more about people who live in the United States today, who come from Mexican backgrounds or ancestry. Here in these slides, we're talking about people who live in Mexico and are citizens of Mexico. So whereas you'll hear me use the word Americans for United States residents, we'll use the word Mexicans for people who live and reside and are citizens of Mexico for the context of this unit. That is just a random side note. I think it's important to identify, to just use people first language. So just another example. I'll skip all my examples for now. I'm getting sidetracked, but just in general, I think that it's a respectful way to address different identities and groups of people by simply putting the word people in there rather than just using their identity to identify people. Of course, you can use whatever language you would like. I'm never going to take any points off of any of your assignments because of how you phrase things. We have the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. It was first signed on February 2nd, 1848. The United States paid $15 million for the following states: California, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. The border boundary was now the Rio Grande for Texas. The Gadsden Purchase was made in 1853. The United States purchased a small strip of land in Arizona and New Mexico. They paid $10 million. This would help with the railroad getting to California. Turn to your table at this time to discuss. Since you all are watching this at home, just think to yourselves, jot it down, whatever you want to do. Why is the railroad so important to American leaders? As always, pause if you want to think a little bit. The railroad is part of Manifest Destiny, the goal to reach from East Coast to West Coast. So if they own all this land, but people can't migrate there, be connected to it, trade with the other side of the country, then it's not very efficient or effective to be spending all this money, losing all these soldiers and effort towards acquiring this land. So it's part of how to make the country connected. It's also part of Clay's American system. Remember, that was the system about using tariffs, making the different regions of the country rely on one another, and using the tax income from the tariffs to create reliable transportation and trade networks. This is the land that was acquired from the Gadsden Purchase, this yellow area here. And again, this is all the acquired territory from the Mexican Cession in 1848. So the United States did win this Mexican-American War, but they also did compensate financially Mexico and Spain for this territory. Over $100 million was spent on the war. 13,780 people were killed. It helped Americans train in military battle, and it was preparation for the Civil War. Zachary Taylor was called Old Rough and Ready, and he becomes president under the Whigs. So he was one of these military war generals that we talked about on the battle slides. We have some important treaties with the British as well. The Treaty of 1818 established joint occupancy of Oregon, which is in the Northwest, between British and the US. In the Treaty of 1846, this was called the Oregon Treaty, Britain ceded territory south of the 49th parallel to the United States, and British moved from Fort Vancouver to Fort Victoria. So this is the new boundary line. So this entire area was disputed here. So this is Oregon. So this was the British claim. Americans were also living in this area. The new boundary is this 49th latitude line. So now the British will move up here, and the Americans will have all of this territory for the United States country. So now we have the main 48 states, the territory acquired. We have the French and Indian War that gave more territory in 1763. The Revolutionary War and Treaty of Paris in 1783 gave territory to the Mississippi River. The Louisiana Purchase gave additional territory in 1803. The concrete northeastern border in the Treaty of Ghent in 1812. The Treaty of 1818, the 49th parallel to the Stony Mountains in 1818. The Adams-Onis Treaty in 1819 and 1821. Texas added as the 38th state that we talked about yesterday in 1845. Oregon Territory acquired in 1846. Mexican Cession and the Mexican-American War in 1848. And the Gadsden Purchase that added the small area at the bottom of New Mexico and Arizona in 1853. So at this point, we just need to buy Hawaii and Alaska, which we will see added in the coming units. Using what we just talked about, I want you to think, and if you're in class, you'll answer on the pear deck. Why is the Mexican American War important today? How does it still impact us? As always, pause if you need more time. I would bring up all of this acquisition of territory. The Mexican American War gave us this one, 1848 Mexican Cession. So if we go back to the map, all of these states we would not have without Mexican Cession. California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, some of Colorado, some of Wyoming. So we needed that war in order to acquire all of this territory. So at this point, if you're in class, you're going to receive a poster with the source in the middle. On that poster, you are going to write the main points of the passage that's in the middle of your poster, important quotes, answers to the prompted questions, and also answer the question, does the author of this source feel America was justified in going to war with Mexico? Use evidence to support that answer with quotes. Or you can mark up the document itself and use arrows rather than copying the quote, because the document will be glued in the middle of your poster. So at this point in class, you are going to have some time to work on your individual poster. And then we will do a room rotate, and you will add to other people's posters, as well as fill out some major notes on those posters. So we will not have to present these ones. We'll just do like a gallery walk. We'll just rotate. And after we have some time to do that in class, you will just complete the 922 exit ticket on Canvas. Again, that's going to be under modules, Unit 2, 922. If you have any questions about this content or anything that you're completing today, let me know. If you are absent, just take some notes on these slides and email them to me or give them to me on paper. That will count for your group work. I don't have a good way for you to make up that group work without it being a ridiculous amount of homework. So you will just take some notes on these slides for your grade for the day. All right, thank you all so much. Just flipping through. You will have these slides accessible to you after the class period. I don't really like to post them ahead of time so that you're all paying attention during the content presentation. I'll talk to you all soon. Thank you so much. Good night. It's night for me. I don't know what time you're watching this.